Hi, this is JP Morgan. You might not have recognized me, but today on the Slanted Lens, we're going to talk about RGB lights and how to use them in practical cinematic setups. And I have with me today...
Hi, I'm Gemma.
Gemma is here all the way from England via Hollywood to help us show you these cinematic lighting setups today. So let's talk about the color science of RGB lights. It really is built on an additive system, which is RGB is red, green, blue, and those are the primary colors. But it's an additive system where you add colors together to get other colors. We have our color wheel here. It's just like back in primary with crayons. If you understand how to mix colors, your RGB lights are going to give you a lot more colors to play with. When you add red and green together, what do you get?
Yellow.
When you add red and blue together, what do you get?
Magenta.
And when you add blue and green together?
Cyan.
So there you have it. Those are the basis for mixing colors together. You can take each of the channels on one of these Intellytech lights, you can add some blue, you can add some green, and it's going to give you different colors. Now, you can just look at it and say, what do I like? You don't have to get freaked out about, oh, I've got to know exactly how to add them, but you know those basic color additive process, which ones to add to kind of go the direction you want. If you want your light to go a little more yellow, you're going to play with the red and green channels to make it go that more yellow direction. When you add all three of these colors together equally, it gives you white light. That's what white light is, a complete array of red, green, and blue. So there's just kind of the basics of color science. Why are people using RGB lights? It's just very, very simple. It's having the ability to control color on set quickly, easily. You don't have to put gels on. You don't have to have another expensive item to bring on a set. You can, from a remote at the camera, change the gel color and just really make it work seamlessly on set. So we're going to take a look at several lighting setups using color options. And these are going to be almost in a fashion vein because we're going to be on a white background and the ability to change that color into a little more of a practical thing at a window. So let's get started and see what we can do. Should we get started?
Oh yeah.
There we go. For our first setup, we're going to show you how to light your person separately from the background and then light that background with those RGB lights so you can change the color of the background to any color you want. Okay, let's talk about our lighting setup here. First off, I wanted kind of a butterfly light on her face, so it's going to come in from the front. I've got a grid on it that's going to keep it off from the background because I've got to protect my background, get as much light off it as possible. I set my camera up, I turn my camera on, I'm in live view, and I'm looking at the background when I set this key light, and there's light all over it. It basically gives me a white background. So I added a flag here. It's going to take the light off from the background. I brought that flag in and flagged it right just at the top of her head because I'm trying to kill as much light on that background as possible, because the more white light you get on that background, the less saturated your color is going to be on the background. Then I added the two RGB lights from Intellytech on each side. Each of them are only at about 75% red. When we started out at 255, which is full red, it's just overexposed. We have to bring our exposure way up. It wasn't very red. As you pull the exposure back, as you dim it down, when you dim these down by simply going from 255 to 155 to 75, and as you dial that down, it acts as a dimmer, and as they get less and less bright, they become more and more saturated. So there's our setup. Two lights in the background to give us our red, one light in the foreground to give us that light on our face with a grid, and then the last thing I did is I slid in just a reflector underneath just to open up the shadows just a little bit on her face. And there's our first setup. For this next setup, we're going to just put colored gels on her face. Now, this is a very heavy-handed application that we're doing right now. We're just putting heavy blue and heavy red on her face. So my first light is a blue, and I've set that about at 190. I mean, it's all compared to exposure. If you go down to F11, I'm gonna have to dial this up to 255, get as much out of it as I possibly can. But if I open up my shutter or my aperture, I can I can dial the blue way down. It doesn't change the color as much as it does the intensity. So my blue's at about 170, and then my 190, and my red here is at about 90. So the red is dialed down. It's not as bright as the blue. And the idea is just to get a nice red on her hair, nice blue on her skin. And you can just do anything you want with this color-wise. You can change the color, it can be greens and yellows, it can do whatever you want. So if I turn all my BTS lights off, and I just have our lights, this is what I've got, very strong color on her skin. Now, it's just a little too much, but if I open this up, I turn on just a little bit of white light, and we add just a bit of white light up front, it's going to just clean up the color a little bit and open up our background just a little bit. And that's really nice. I could take this now and just simply, I could roll this back into the background and try to give myself a little bit of color on her and add some red to the background, which it just did. It gave me a nice red wash in the background against that blue on the left side of her face. So it's a matter of positioning these lights to be able to get the color, the single light. I've now let the red go into that side. Like if I pan this one more, I can get a little more of the blue to that side. And now, Gemma, if you just look towards the light that way for me. Looking out there. Now look back to me. She's got a whole range of red to blue that she can play in there. It looks really great on her face. So she goes from solid red all the way here over here to really blue, looking down towards the ground like you're wondering, looking at something, thinking. Goes a little more on the blue in that side. We've got the red and blue in the background. Just a lot of things we can play with there. So let's go on now to create a quick party scene with our RGB light. For this setup, we're going to use our 2 RGB lights as party lights. This is the thing. I mean, every DP does this. If you're in any kind of scene where you want to have this party going on in the background, it's a simple effect. These don't have an effect that does this automatically, but what we've simply done is we have taken and just on the presets, we're just scrolling through the presets really fast. And if we took the antenna off from one of our lights, it doesn't respond as quickly. So they're kind of now at different response times and different lights. And so you just cycle through those lights. So let's build a light on this really fast. And that gives us a kind of rim light on her, but we warmed that a lot. We put that all the way as warm as it'll go. That's not an RGB light, it's just a regular light, and it's on 9,999, so it gives us just a little bit of warmth from behind. So there you go. So there's the background light, and this side and this side. You can do this with one. We were doing this with one. If we just turn this one off, so this is compared. We got one on this side, we got a rim on the other side. Now we can still have that thing happen. It looks pretty good. All right, moving on to our next setup. So in this shot, we're just taking the RGB lights and using them for color to kind of envelop this hallway, make it look creepy. So first off, we put a blue in the back. We bounce that into the wall back there, so it's gonna give us kind of a flood of blue light behind her as she comes around the corner. As she hits this doorway here, she gets into a little warmer light, got a little red going on here. We didn't have another RGB light to put in the foreground, so we just simply took the overhead light that's here, and we just simply took that, wrapped it in a red gel, and that kind of gave us that red wash up front. So there's another thing, you can use these lights, the RGB lights, to match gels that you already have. So we move from that blue, we get a little bit of reddish light coming through in the doorway here, and then we move into just that kind of pinkish light up front. Just meant to give us separation and depth and create a little bit of drama in the scene as she comes forward. So there's another setup. Let's go on to our next one. Another great use for RGB lights is a green screen. Very simple. We've got a white background here. We put green on both sides, just pure green. We've dialed it back so it's about 1/4 of a stop underexposed compared to the light on her face. And then we just got a nice light, clean light on her face, a nice rim on the back that's clean, but the green light on the background gives us our green screen. So it's a perfect situation to be able to use RGB lights because they can create a green screen very simply. It's just a very easy way to do it. So the important thing to remember about this though is the green screen is about 1/4 stop underexposed, and you don't want to spill onto her. We've got her far enough away that it's not going to spill, and I'm not seeing any of the green on her arm here, so she's far enough away that it's not going to spill. This will key out really easily. So there you have it, several cinematic lighting setups using RGB lights. This really is the future. The future's already arrived, but its cost effectiveness is really what is starting to become the next wave. And this Intellytech 160 RGB 2x2 light mat is that. It's an effective, inexpensive RGB light you can use on set to be able to get these kinds of effects, get color effects immediately without a lot of effort. You don't have to bring in gels and extra expense. It's the way everyone is working these days. So check these out. I think it's a light that will really help you to be able to get this look at a price you can afford. So check these lights out. They're super versatile, from just straight up color temperature to the RGB functions on them. Gives you a lot of options. They're flat, you can travel with them. The softbox is low profile, so you can put it in the ceiling. So many things about this light make it extremely useful. If you go back to the lesson we did 3 weeks ago, we'll link it below. We talk about all the functions and how to run all the functions of this light, so you'll be able to know how to run it immediately, make it easy for you to set it up and to be able to use it. If you love video and you love this kind of lighting, you've got to check out our new video download. If you go over to theslimlens.com, click on the store, click on the video download. It's a download that teaches photographers or people who just want to learn video how to make that transition into shooting video. So get over to the store, check out that today, and keep those cameras rolling.
And keep on clicking.
There you go. So make sure you subscribe to the Slanted Lens. Subscribe. How do you say that with a British accent?
Subscribe. Subscribe down below.
Down below.
Down below.
Down below. Subscribe down below.
Subscribe.
Oh my. Subscribe down below. Now I sound like from Minnesota, not from
Or Australia.
yeah. Down below. Subscribe. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you.